Come, weary traveller of the modern age. Leave behind the day's concerns, the lingering thoughts, and the weight of your own world. Let my voice be your guide on a journey back in time, to an age of stone castles, noble knights, and the quiet dedication of a young boy on the cusp of his destiny. We travel not to a time of great battles or thrilling adventures, for tonight our path is one of peace, of gentle repetition, and of the steady, rhythmic pace of a life lived with purpose. We are bound for a medieval castle, nestled in the rolling green hills of a land much like England or France. The air here is clean and crisp, filled with the scent of wood smoke, damp earth, and the distant fragrance of wildflowers. The sun, a soft and benevolent eye in the vast, open sky, casts a warm, golden glow upon the castle's stone walls. And it is within these walls that our story unfolds. It is the story of a young squire, a boy named Thomas. He is not a king nor a great lord, but his life is one of honor, of service, and of quiet dreams. We will walk beside him, see through his eyes, and feel the rhythm of his days. Let the gentle cadence of his world lull you into a state of deep and profound rest. There is nothing to strive for here, nothing to achieve. Simply be present and let the story carry you into a peaceful slumber. Our journey begins not with a grand procession or a call to arms, but with the soft, almost imperceptible shift from the deep, velvet black of night to the first, faint blush of dawn. The world is still, wrapped in a blanket of silver mist, and the only sounds are the distant hoot of an owl and the gentle sigh of the wind as it whispers through the crenellations of the castle walls. The air in the small stone chamber is cool and still. A single arrow-slit window, high on the wall, offers a sliver of the pre-dawn sky, a canvas of deep indigo just beginning to be touched with the faintest hint of grey. This is the world of Thomas, a squire in the service of Sir William, a knight of some renown. Thomas is 14 years of age, a boy on the threshold of manhood, his body lean and strong from a life of constant motion. He sleeps on a simple pallet, a straw-filled mattress on a wooden frame. It is not a soft bed by our modern standards, but to Thomas, it is a welcome comfort at the end of a long day. He shares this chamber with another squire, a boy named Peter, who is a few years his senior. Peter's steady, rhythmic breathing is a familiar and comforting sound in the quiet of the morning. Thomas stirs, not from a dream, but from an internal clock, honed by months of rising before the sun. He opens his eyes, and for a moment, he is simply a boy, warm and comfortable in his bed. He can smell the faint, sweet scent of the straw beneath him, and the dusty, earthy smell of the stone walls. He can feel the rough weave of his woolen blanket against his skin. But the moment of stillness is fleeting. The life of a squire is a life of duty, and the day's tasks await. He swings his legs over the side of the pallet, his bare feet meeting the cold, smooth stone of the floor. A shiver runs through him, but it is a familiar sensation, a part of the morning ritual that awakens both body and mind. He dresses quickly and quietly, his movements practiced and efficient, so as not to wake Peter. He pulls on his simple woolen tunic, a deep forest green, and a pair of brown breeches. He slips his feet into soft leather shoes, worn and comfortable from months of use. He runs a hand through his thick, dark hair, a silent and simple act of grooming. He moves through the darkened chamber like a shadow, his footsteps barely making a sound. He pauses at the door, his hand resting on the cool iron latch. He casts a quick glance back at the sleeping form of his fellow squire, a silent acknowledgement of their shared world. Then, with a soft click, he opens the door and steps out into the hushed corridors of the sleeping castle. The air outside his chamber is even colder, and he pulls his tunic tighter around him. The only light comes from the occasional torch, set in an iron sconce on the wall. The flames dance and flicker, casting long, wavering shadows that seem to have a life of their own. The silence here is different from the silence of his room. It is a vast, echoing silence, filled with the unseen presence of the hundreds of souls who live within these walls. Thomas's first destination is the stables, a place that is, in many ways, the heart of the castle's martial life. As he descends the winding stone staircase, the air begins to change. The clean, cold scent of stone gives way to the warm, earthy smell of hay and horses. It is a smell that Thomas has come to know intimately, a smell that he associates with the very essence of his duties. He pushes open the heavy wooden door of the stables, and a wave of warmth washes over him. The air inside is thick with the sweet scent of hay, the musky odor of the horses, and the faint, sharp smell of leather and saddle soap. The only light comes from a single lantern, hung from a wooden beam in the center of the stable. Its soft, golden glow illuminates the stalls where the horses stand, patient and silent in the pre-dawn gloom. The stable is a world unto itself, a place of quiet routine and gentle rhythms. Thomas can hear the soft rustle of the horses in their stalls, the gentle stamp of a hoof on the straw-strewn floor, and the occasional soft nicker as they sense his presence. He moves from stall to stall, his voice a low, soothing murmur, as he greets each horse by name. First there is Boudica, Sir William's destrier, his warhorse. She is a magnificent creature, a powerful beast of black destrier blood, her coat as dark as a moonless night. She is a veteran of a dozen tournaments and a handful of skirmishes, and she carries herself with a proud and noble bearing. Thomas runs a hand down her powerful neck, his fingers tracing the lines of her strong muscles. He speaks to her in a low, calming voice, his words a gentle stream of reassurance. Next there is Lyra, the palfrey, a more elegant and graceful horse used for travel. And then there is Galahad, the sturdy packhorse, who carries the knight's armor and supplies. Thomas treats each of them with the same gentle care, for he knows that a knight is nothing without his horse. His first task is to muck out the stalls, a humble but necessary chore. He works with a steady, rhythmic motion, his pitchfork moving with a practiced ease. The sound of the straw and dung being lifted and moved is a soft, repetitive sound, a kind of pre-dawn music that is both mundane and meditative. The physical exertion warms his body, and soon a light sheen of sweat covers his brow. Once the stalls are clean, he fills them with fresh, sweet-smelling straw. He then brings water for the horses, carrying the heavy wooden buckets from the well in the stable yard. The water is cold and clear, and the horses drink deeply, their soft muzzles tickling his hands. He measures out their morning feed, a mixture of oats and barley. The sound of the grain being poured into the feed bags is a crisp, satisfying sound. A sound that signals the true beginning of the day for the horses. As they eat, Thomas begins the long and meticulous process of grooming them. He starts with Boudica, using a curry comb to loosen the dirt and dust from her coat. He works in long, sweeping motions, his arm moving in a steady, circular rhythm. The sound of the comb against her hide is a gentle, scratching sound, a sound that seems to please the great warhorse. He then uses a soft brush to sweep away the loosened dirt, leaving her coat with a deep, healthy shine. He carefully picks out her hooves, using a small, hooked tool to remove any stones or debris. This is a task that requires both patience and trust, for a warhorse's kick can be a powerful and dangerous thing. But Boudica stands patiently for him, her trust in the young squire absolute. He combs out her long, thick mane and tail, his fingers working through the tangles with a gentle touch. The entire process is a kind of silent conversation between boy and horse, a communion of touch and trust that is as important as any words. As he works, the first rays of the sun begin to filter through the stable's high windows, casting long, golden shafts of light through the dusty air. The world outside is beginning to stir. He can hear the distant crow of a rooster, the faint clanging of the blacksmith's hammer, and the growing murmur of voices as the castle begins to wake. Thomas finishes with Boudica and moves on to the other horses, giving them the same careful and attentive grooming. By the time he is finished, the sun is higher in the sky, and the stable is filled with the warm, golden light of the morning. The horses are clean, fed, and content, their coats shining in the morning sun. His work in the stables is done, for now, but his day has just begun. He washes his hands and face in a basin of cold water. The shock of the cold water a welcome jolt to his senses. He then makes his way to the castle's kitchens, the next stop on his morning rounds. The kitchens are a stark contrast to the quiet solitude of the stables. They are a hive of activity, a world of heat, steam, and the delicious aromas of roasting meat and baking bread. The air is thick with the smells of herbs and spices, of onions and garlic, and of the sweet, smoky scent of the open fires. The head cook, a large and boisterous woman named Matilda, greets him with a friendly smile. She hands him a small loaf of freshly baked bread and a mug of warm spiced cider. This is his breakfast, a simple but satisfying meal that he eats standing up, amidst the hustle and bustle of the kitchen. His next duty is to attend to his knight, Sir William. He makes his way to Sir William's chambers, his footsteps echoing in the now busy corridors of the castle. He knocks softly on the heavy oak door and enters at Sir William's command. Sir William is a man in his late 30s, with a kind but firm demeanour. He is already awake and dressed, and he greets Thomas with a nod. Thomas's first task is to help Sir William with his morning ablutions, pouring water for him to wash, and laying out his clothes for the day. He then helps Sir William with the first layer of his clothing, a simple linen shirt and breeches. Today, Sir William will be spending the morning in the training yard, so he will not be wearing his full armour. Instead, he will wear a padded gambeson, a thick, quilted jacket that offers some protection during practice. Thomas helps him into the gambeson, his fingers working deftly with the leather straps and buckles. He has done this 100 times before, and his movements are sure and practiced. He then fetches Sir William's sword belt and helps him to buckle it on. The sword is a magnificent weapon, its hilt wrapped in dark leather, and its pommel a simple but elegant design of polished steel. The blade itself is a thing of beauty, long and sharp and perfectly balanced. Thomas handles it with a deep and abiding respect, for he knows that this is the tool of his knight's trade, the symbol of his status and his strength. With Sir William dressed and armed, Thomas's next task is to serve him his morning meal. He returns to the kitchens and collects a tray of food, a platter of cold meats, a chunk of cheese, a loaf of bread, and a pitcher of ale. He carries the tray back to Sir William's chambers and sets it on a small wooden table. He stands silently by as Sir William eats, his role that of a quiet and attentive servant. He is there to refill his knight's cup, to fetch anything he might need, and to simply be present, a silent and unobtrusive presence in the room. As Sir William eats, he might speak to Thomas, perhaps about the day's plans, or perhaps about some small matter of castle life. Thomas listens attentively, his answers polite and respectful. He is learning not just the skills of a squire, but also the art of diplomacy, of how to speak to his superiors with the proper deference and respect. The sun is now well above the horizon, and the castle is fully awake. The sounds of the morning fill the air, the clang of the blacksmith's hammer, the shouts of the guards on the battlements, the laughter of children playing in the courtyard. For Thomas, the morning has been a whirlwind of activity, a series of tasks performed with a quiet and focused dedication. But his day is far from over. The morning's chores are complete, but the real work of a squire, the long and arduous process of training, is about to begin. He feels a familiar thrill of anticipation, a nervous energy that always comes before he steps onto the training grounds. For it is here, in the dust and sweat of the training yard, that the boy will be forged into the man, and the squire will take his first, tentative steps on the long and winding road to knighthood. The training yard is a wide open space in the heart of the castle, its ground a mixture of packed earth and sand. It is a place of sweat and toil, of the rhythmic clash of wood on wood, and of the steady, patient instruction of the master-at-arms. For Thomas, this is both his classroom and his crucible, the place where his body and mind are pushed to their limits, where the dream of knighthood is slowly and painstakingly hammered into reality. After Sir William has finished his morning meal, Thomas clears the table and makes his way to the armoury, a cool, dark chamber filled with the scent of metal and oil. Racks of swords, axes and maces line the walls, their polished surfaces gleaming in the dim light. Suits of armour stand like silent sentinels, their empty eyes seeming to hold the memory of 100 battles. Thomas's task is to gather the training equipment. He selects a pair of wooden practice swords, their weight and balance designed to mimic that of a real blade, but without the deadly edge. He chooses a small round buckler, a shield just large enough to protect his forearm. He also gathers a practice lance, a long, heavy pole of ashwood, its tip blunted for safety. Carrying the equipment, he makes his way to the training yard, where Sir William is already waiting. The master-at-arms, a grizzled veteran named Sir Geoffrey, is also there, his keen eyes missing nothing. A handful of other squires are already engaged in their own training, their grunts of exertion and the thud of their practice weapons creating a familiar and rhythmic soundtrack to the morning. Thomas's training begins, not with the sword, but with the quintain, a device designed to teach a squire the art of the lance. It is a simple but effective tool, a rotating arm mounted on a post. On one end of the arm is a shield, and on the other, a heavy sack of sand. The goal is to strike the shield squarely with the lance while riding at a gallop. A poorly aimed strike will cause the arm to swing around, and the sack of sand can deliver a powerful and humbling blow to the rider. Thomas leads Lyra, his palfrey, to the starting point of the quintain run. He mounts the horse, the familiar feel of the saddle a small comfort. He takes the heavy practice lance in his hand, its weight a familiar burden. He takes a deep breath, his eyes fixed on the small round shield at the end of the quintain's arm. He urges Lyra forward, first at a walk, then a trot, and finally a full gallop. The wind rushes past his ears, and the ground seems to fly by beneath him. He holds the lance steady, his arm locked, his body moving in unison with the powerful rhythm of the horse. As he approaches the quintain, he lowers the lance, his eyes never leaving the target. He aims for the very center of the shield, a small painted circle that seems to mock him with its smallness. He feels the jarring impact as the tip of his lance strikes the shield, a solid and satisfying thud. For a moment he thinks he has succeeded, but then he feels the telltale wobble of the quintain's arm. He has struck a little too high, a little off-center. The arm begins to swing around, the heavy sack of sand arcing through the air towards him. He reacts instantly, his body instinctively ducking to the side. The sack of sand whistles past his ear, missing him by a mere inch. It is a close call, a humbling reminder of the precision and skill required for this seemingly simple task. He brings Lyra to a halt and turns her back towards the quintain. He can feel the heat of a blush on his cheeks, a mixture of embarrassment and frustration. Sir Geoffrey offers a gruff but not unkind piece of advice from the sidelines. Keep your eye on the center, boy, and don't anticipate the blow. Thomas nods, his jaw set with a renewed determination. He takes a deep breath and begins his approach again. This time, he He focuses all of his attention on the small painted circle. The world seems to narrow, the sounds of the training yard fading away until all that exists is him, his horse, his lance, and the target. He strikes the shield again, and this time the impact is clean and true. The quintain shudders, but the arm does not swing. He has done it. A small smile touches his lips, a fleeting moment of satisfaction in a long and arduous morning. He spends the next hour at the quintain, his movements becoming more fluid, his strikes more accurate. The repetitive nature of the task is almost meditative, a physical mantra that clears his mind of all but the present moment. After the quintain, it is time for sword practice. He dismounts from Lyra and leads her to the side of the yard, where he ties her to a post. He then takes up his wooden sword and buckler and faces Sir William. Sir William is a patient and skilled teacher, but he is not a gentle one. He believes that a squire must learn the hard realities of combat, and he does not hold back in their practice sessions. He moves with a grace and speed that belies his size, his wooden sword a blur of motion. Thomas does his best to keep up, his own sword moving in a desperate dance of parries and blocks. The sound of their wooden swords striking each other is a sharp, percussive rhythm, a staccato beat that echoes across the training yard. "Keep your guard up, Thomas," Sir William says, his voice calm but firm. "You're leaving your left side exposed." Thomas adjusts his stance, his muscles burning with the effort. Sweat drips from his brow, stinging his eyes. His arm aches with the weight of the sword and his lungs burn for air. But he does not complain. He knows that this is what it takes, that every ache, every drop of sweat, is a small price to pay for the skills that will one day save his life. They practice for what seems like an eternity, the sun climbing higher in the sky, its heat beating down on the dusty training yard. They move through a series of drills, practicing different attacks and defenses, different footwork and stances. Sir William points out his mistakes, corrects his form, and pushes him to be better, faster, stronger. At one point, Sir William's sword slips past Thomas's guard and delivers a sharp, stinging blow to his ribs. The impact knocks the wind out of him, and he stumbles back, gasping for breath. The pain is sharp and immediate, a fiery reminder of his own mortality. But he does not fall. He straightens up, his jaw clenched, his eyes blazing with a fierce determination. He raises his sword and re-engages, his movements now sharper, more focused. He will not be beaten so easily. They continue their practice, the intensity of their mock battle a stark contrast to the gentle, lulling tone of our story. But even in this, there is a kind of rhythm, a dance of action and reaction, of effort and recovery. The sounds of their exertion, the thud of their feet on the packed earth, the sharp crack of their wooden swords, all of it contributes to the rich tapestry of sound that fills the medieval world. Finally, Sir William lowers his sword, a signal that the lesson is over. Thomas stands, leaning on his own sword, his chest heaving, his body slick with sweat. He is exhausted, but he is also exhilarated. He has survived another morning of training, and he is a little bit stronger, a little bit more skilled than he was when he began. But the physical training is only one part of a squire's education. A knight must be more than just a warrior. He must also be a man of culture, a man of honor, and a man of faith. And so, after the rigors of the training yard, Thomas's education takes a different, more cerebral turn. He cleans and puts away the training equipment, his movements slow and deliberate, his muscles protesting with every step. He then makes his way to the castle's chapel, a quiet and holy place, its air thick with the scent of old stone, beeswax and incense. The chapel is a small but beautiful space with a high, vaulted ceiling and stained glass windows that cast jewel-toned patterns of light on the stone floor. Thomas kneels before the altar, the cool stone a welcome relief to his tired body. He bows his head and offers a silent prayer, a moment of quiet contemplation in the midst of a busy day. He is not alone in the chapel. The castle's priest, a gentle and scholarly man named Father Michael, is there, reading from a large leather-bound book. Father Michael is another of Thomas's teachers, responsible for his education in matters of faith, history, and literature. After his prayer, Thomas sits with Father Michael and they begin their lesson for the day. Today, they are studying the code of chivalry, the set of rules and ideals that govern the life of a knight. Father Michael reads from the book, his voice a low, melodic drone that is both soothing and authoritative. He speaks of courage and honor, of loyalty and justice. He tells stories of great knights of the past, of their noble deeds and their unwavering devotion to their lords and their faith. Thomas listens intently, his mind absorbing the words, his heart stirred by the tales of heroism and self-sacrifice. He learns that a knight's strength is not just in his sword arm, but in his character. He learns that true honor lies not in victory, but in the manner in which one fights. He learns that a knight has a duty to protect the weak and the defenseless, to uphold justice, and to be a champion of the faith. The lesson lasts for an hour, a quiet interlude in a day of physical exertion. The cool, still air of the chapel, the gentle cadence of Father Michael's voice, and the timeless wisdom of the words he reads, all of it combines to create a sense of peace and tranquility, a welcome respite from the dust and sweat of the training yard. As the lesson ends, the midday bells begin to toll, their deep, resonant chimes echoing across the castle. It is time for the midday meal, the main meal of the day. Thomas thanks Father Michael for the lesson and makes his way to the great hall, his mind filled with thoughts of chivalry and his stomach rumbling with a very real and present hunger. The morning has been long and arduous, a test of both his body and his spirit. But he has met the challenge, and he is ready for whatever the rest of the day may bring. The great hall of the castle is a vast and impressive chamber, with a high beamed ceiling and a massive fireplace at one end. Long wooden tables are arranged in neat rows, and the air is filled with the murmur of 100 conversations, the clatter of plates and goblets, and the delicious aromas of the midday meal. This is the social heart of the castle, the place where the lord and his family, their knights and their household staff, all come together to eat, to talk, and to reaffirm the bonds of their community. For Thomas, the midday meal is a time of both service and observation, a chance to see the intricate social tapestry of the castle laid out before him. His place is not at the tables with the other diners. As Sir William's squire, his duty is to serve his knight. He stands behind Sir William's chair at the high table, a position of both honour and responsibility. From here, he has a clear view of the entire hall, and he can see the complex dance of social interactions that takes place during the meal. He watches as the lord of the castle, a powerful and respected nobleman named Lord Ashworth, presides over the meal. He sees the way the other knights defer to him, the way they laugh at his jokes and listen intently to his words. He observes the lady of the castle, a graceful and intelligent woman named Lady Eleanor, as she converses with her ladies-in-waiting, a voice a low and musical counterpoint to the boisterous conversation of the men. Thomas's first task is to bring Sir William his food. He makes his way to the serving tables where massive platters of food are laid out in a glorious and tempting display. There is roasted peacock, its feathers reattached in a vibrant and colourful display. There are whole roasted pigs, their skin crackling and golden brown. There are pies filled with savoury meats and vegetables, their crusts flaky and delicious. There are bowls of fresh fruit, platters of cheese, and baskets of warm, crusty bread. Thomas selects a generous portion of food for Sir William, his choices guided by his knowledge of his knight's preferences. He arranges the food on a wooden platter and carries it back to the high table, his movements careful and precise. He sets the platter before Sir William, and then steps back, his eyes ever watchful, his posture one of quiet and respectful attention. As Sir William eats, Thomas's duty is to anticipate his every need. He keeps his goblet filled with wine. He cuts his meat for him, and he is ready to fetch anything else he might desire. The role of a squire at the dining table is a delicate one. He must be attentive but not intrusive, present but not conspicuous. He is a silent and efficient servant, his own needs and desires secondary to those of the knight he serves. But the meal is not just a time of service for Thomas, it is also a time of learning. He listens to the conversations around him, absorbing the news and gossip of the castle, the talk of politics and warfare, of tournaments and hunts. He hears the knights tell stories of their past adventures, their voices filled with a mixture of pride and nostalgia. He learns about the world beyond the castle walls, a world of kings and queens, of alliances and betrayals, of great battles and epic quests. He also learns the subtle art of courtly manners. He watches how the knights interact with the ladies, the way they speak to them, with a mixture of respect and playful flirtation. He observes the formal etiquette of the dining table, the proper way to use a knife and a spoon, the correct way to address a person of higher rank. This is a different kind of education than the one he receives in the training yard or the chapel. But it is no less important. A knight must be as skilled in the art of conversation as he is in the art of combat. He must know how to navigate the complex social world of the court, how to win allies and influence people, how to be a man of both substance and style. As the meal progresses, the great hall becomes a more lively and boisterous place. Minstrels begin to play in the gallery above, their lutes and flutes creating a cheerful and festive atmosphere. A jester, dressed in a colourful costume of red and yellow, moves through the hall, telling jokes and performing tricks, his antics drawing laughter and applause from the diners. Thomas allows himself a small smile as he watches the jester's performance. It is a brief moment of levity in a day of serious and demanding work. But his attention never wavers for long from his primary duty, to serve Sir William. After the main course, there are sweets, honey cakes, fruit tarts, and spiced puddings. Thomas brings a selection of these to Sir William, along with a cup of sweet mulled wine. Finally, the meal comes to an end. The lord and lady of the castle rise from the table, a signal that the meal is over. The other diners begin to disperse, some heading back to their duties, others seeking a quiet place for a post-meal nap. Thomas's work is not yet done. He clears away Sir William's plates and goblet, taking them back to the kitchens. He then helps Sir William to remove his sword belt, which will not be needed for the afternoon's activities. The afternoon is a time for less strenuous pursuits. Sir William might choose to go hunting or hawking, or he might spend the time in the castle's mews, tending to his prized falcons. Whatever his choice, Thomas will be by his side, ready to assist in any way he can. Today, Sir William decides to go hunting. Thomas's first task is to prepare the horses. He returns to the stables and saddles Boudica, Sir William's warhorse, and Lyra, his own palfrey. He also prepares a third horse for the gamekeeper, who will be accompanying them on the hunt. He then gathers the hunting equipment, a longbow and a quiver of arrows for Sir William, and a smaller bow for himself. He also packs a small bag with water, bread, and cheese, in case the hunt lasts longer than expected. They meet the gamekeeper in the courtyard, a man with a weathered face and a deep knowledge of the surrounding forests. He has a pair of hunting dogs with him, their lean bodies quivering with a restless energy. They ride out from the castle, crossing the drawbridge and heading into the green and rolling countryside. The air is warm and fragrant with the scent of pine and damp earth. The sun is high in the sky, and the world is alive with the sounds of nature, the buzz of insects, the chirping of birds, the gentle rustle of the leaves in the wind. The hunt is a slow and patient affair. They ride through the forest, their eyes scanning the trees for any sign of deer. The gamekeeper moves with a silent and stealthy grace, his knowledge of the forest and its inhabitants almost supernatural. Thomas rides a little way behind Sir William, his own bow at the ready. His role is to be a second pair of eyes, to spot any game that his knight might miss. He is also there to carry any game that they might kill, and to assist in the dressing of the animal. They ride for what seems like miles, the forest canopy providing a welcome shade from the afternoon sun. The rhythmic movement of the horse, the gentle sounds of the forest, and the quiet concentration of the hunt all combine to create a sense of deep and profound peace. Suddenly, the gamekeeper raises a hand, a signal for them to stop. He points to a clearing ahead, where a small herd of deer are grazing, their dappled coats blending in with the sun-dappled leaves of the forest floor. Sir William dismounts from his horse, his movements slow and deliberate. Thomas does the same, his heart beginning to beat a little faster with the thrill of the chase. Sir William takes his longbow and nocks an arrow, his movements fluid and practiced. He inches forward, using the trees and bushes for cover. The deer are still unaware of their presence, their heads bent to the ground as they graze peacefully. Sir William raises the bow, his arm steady, his eye fixed on a large stag at the edge of the herd. He draws the bowstring back, the muscles in his back and shoulders bunching with the effort. For a moment, there is a perfect and profound silence, the world holding its breath in anticipation. Then, with a soft twang, the arrow is released. It flies through the air, a swift and silent messenger of death. It strikes the stag in the side, a clean and fatal shot. The stag stumbles, a look of surprise and confusion in its large brown eyes. It takes a few faltering steps and then collapses to the ground. The other deer, startled by the sudden movement, scatter into the forest, their white tails flashing as they disappear into the trees. Sir William lowers his bow, a look of grim satisfaction on his face. The hunt is over. Thomas and the gamekeeper approach the fallen stag. It is a magnificent creature, its antlers a proud and noble crown. They work together to dress the animal, a bloody and visceral task, but one that is performed with a sense of respect for the creature that has given its life to feed them. They load the carcass onto the pack horse and then begin the long ride back to the castle. The sun is beginning to sink towards the horizon, casting long shadows across the land. The air is growing cooler and the sounds of the forest are changing, the daytime creatures giving way to the creatures of the night. They arrive back at the castle as the evening bells are ringing, their chimes a welcome signal that the day's work is almost done. Thomas takes the horses back to the stables and gives them a thorough grooming, washing away the sweat and dust of the hunt. He then takes the deer carcass to the kitchens, where it will be prepared for the evening meal. His duties for the afternoon are complete. He has served his knight well, both at the dining table and in the hunting field. He has learned more about the world of the court and the ways of the forest. He is tired, but it is a good kind of tired, the deep and satisfying exhaustion that comes from a day of meaningful work and quiet purpose. And as the stars begin to appear in the darkening sky, he knows that the evening will bring a welcome respite, a time for rest, for reflection, and for the quiet camaraderie of his fellow squires. As twilight descends upon the castle, a gentle hush falls over the sprawling stone edifice. The frantic energy of the day gives way to a more subdued and peaceful atmosphere. The sky, a canvas of deep purples and soft oranges, is slowly pricked with the first, faint glimmers of starlight. The air grows cool and still, carrying the scent of wood smoke from the castle's many hearths and the distant, earthy aroma of the surrounding fields. For Thomas, the evening is a time of winding down, of tending to the final, quiet duties of the day, and of finding a few precious moments for himself. His responsibilities to Sir William are not yet over, but they take on a more relaxed and intimate quality in the gentle glow of the evening's candlelight. After delivering the spoils of the hunt to the kitchens, Thomas makes his way to the armory. The air in this chamber is always cool, and the scent of oil and metal seems to hang perpetually in the air. Here, surrounded by the tools of war, Thomas undertakes one of his most important and meditative tasks: the care of Sir William's armour. A full suit of plate armour is a complex and intricate piece of engineering, a puzzle of interlocking steel plates, leather straps and buckles. It is also a knight's most precious possession, the barrier that stands between him and a mortal blow in the chaos of battle. To care for it is a sacred trust, a duty that Thomas performs with a meticulous and reverent attention to detail. He begins by laying out the various pieces of the armour on a large wooden table. The breastplate, the pauldrons that protect the shoulders, the vambraces for the forearms, the greaves for the legs, and the intricate lobster-like gauntlets for the hands. Each piece is a work of art, a testament to the skill of the armourer who crafted it. He works by the light of a single flickering candle, its soft glow reflecting off the polished surfaces of the steel. He uses a soft cloth and a special mixture of sand and vinegar to remove any rust or tarnish from the plates. He works in slow circular motions, the gentle, scraping sound of the cloth against the metal, a rhythmic and soothing counterpoint to the quiet of the evening. This is a task that cannot be rushed. Each plate must be cleaned and polished until it shines like a mirror. As he works, his mind is free to wander. He thinks about the day's events, the near miss at the quintain, the sting of Sir William's practice sword, the quiet beauty of the forest during the hunt. He replays the lessons of the day in his mind, the words of Sir Geoffrey and Father Michael echoing in his thoughts. He also thinks about the future, about the day when he will wear his own suit of armour, when he will ride into battle as a knight in his own right. The thought is both thrilling and terrifying, a distant dream that seems to grow a little closer with each passing day. Once the armour is clean, he carefully inspects each leather strap and buckle. He checks for any signs of wear and tear, any weakness that could cause the armour to fail at a critical moment. If he finds a worn strap, he replaces it, his fingers working deftly with the needle and thread, his stitches small and strong. He oils the joints and rivets, ensuring that the armour will move smoothly and silently. The smell of the oil is clean and sharp, a familiar and reassuring scent. The entire process takes over an hour, a slow and deliberate ritual that is both a chore and a form of meditation. It is a time for quiet focus, for the simple satisfaction of a job well done. By the time he is finished, the armour is gleaming and pristine, ready for whatever challenges the morrow may bring. His work in the armoury complete, Thomas makes his way to Sir William's chambers. The knight is there, sitting by the fire, reading from a book. The room is warm and cosy, the flickering firelight casting a warm golden glow on the tapestries that adorn the walls. Thomas's final duty of the day is to help Sir William prepare for bed. He helps him to remove his boots and his outer clothing. He brings him a basin of warm water to wash with and a clean linen nightshirt to wear. As Thomas works, Sir William might speak to him, his voice softer and more relaxed than it is during the day. He might ask Thomas about his own family, about the home he left behind to become a squire. He might share a story from his own youth, a memory of his own time as a squire, full of the same hopes and fears that now fill Thomas's heart. These are precious moments for Thomas, these quiet conversations in the gentle glow of the firelight. They are a chance to see the man behind the knight, to forge a bond that goes beyond that of master and servant. He cherishes these moments, these glimpses into the heart and mind of the man he hopes to one day emulate. Once Sir William is ready for bed, Thomas bids him a quiet good night and leaves the chamber. closing the heavy oak door softly behind him. His duties for the day are finally complete. He is now free to spend the rest of the evening as he pleases. He makes his way to the squire's common room, a small, cozy chamber where he and the other squires can relax and unwind. A fire crackles merrily in the hearth, and the room is filled with the sound of quiet conversation and laughter. Peter is there, his senior squire, along with a handful of other boys. Some are playing a game of chess, their faces etched with a fierce concentration. Others are gathered around the fire, sharing stories and jokes. A few are practicing a song on the lute, their clumsy fingers fumbling with the strings, their voices a little off-key, but full of a youthful and infectious enthusiasm. Thomas finds a quiet corner by the fire and sits down, his body sinking into the welcome warmth. He listens to the stories and the music, a comfortable and contented silence settling over him. He is a part of this small community of boys, all of them bound together by their shared dreams and their common purpose. They talk of their nights, of the day's training, of their hopes for the future. They complain about the hardships of their lives, the early mornings, the endless chores, the strict discipline. But their complaints are good-natured, a way of bonding over their shared experiences. Peter, who is older and more experienced, often acts as a mentor to the younger squires. He offers advice on how to handle a difficult horse, how to properly clean a suit of armor, how to win the favor of a knight. Thomas listens to his words, grateful for the guidance and the camaraderie. Sometimes, in the quiet of the evening, a sense of homesickness might wash over Thomas. He might think of his family, of the familiar faces and the comfortable routines of his childhood home. He might feel a pang of loneliness, a sense of being a small and insignificant boy in a vast and intimidating world. But these moments are fleeting. He has a new family now, a new home within the walls of this castle. He has his fellow squires, his knight, and his dreams. And he knows that the path he has chosen, though difficult, is a noble one, a path that will lead him to a life of honor and purpose. As the evening wears on, the conversation and laughter begin to fade. The fire dies down to a bed of glowing embers, and a sleepy silence falls over the room. One by one, the squires bid each other good night and make their way to their beds, their bodies weary from the day's labors, their minds ready for the sweet oblivion of sleep. Thomas is one of the last to leave. He stays by the fire for a few more moments, watching the embers glow and fade. He feels a deep sense of peace and contentment, a quiet satisfaction with the life he is leading. He makes his way back to his own small chamber, his footsteps echoing in the now silent corridors of the castle. Peter is already asleep, his breathing a soft and steady rhythm in the darkness. Thomas undresses quickly and slips into his own simple pallet. The straw mattress feels wonderfully soft and inviting, his woolen blanket a warm and comforting embrace. He closes his eyes, his body sinking into a state of deep and profound relaxation. The sounds of the castle at night are a gentle and soothing lullaby. He can hear the distant cry of a nightbird, the gentle sigh of the wind as it whispers through the arrow-slit window, the faint and rhythmic tramp of the guards on the battlements above. His mind is quiet now, the thoughts of the day fading away like the last dying embers of the fire. He is tired, but it is a good kind of tired, the deep and satisfying exhaustion that comes from a day well lived. And as he drifts off to sleep, his dreams are not of battles or glory, but of the simple, rhythmic pleasures of his life as a squire. The feel of a well-balanced sword in his hand, the wind in his hair as he rides across the open countryside, the warm and trusting nuzzle of a horse against his cheek. He is a boy on the cusp of his destiny, and in the deep and peaceful quiet of the medieval night, he finds the rest and renewal he needs to continue his journey. Life within the castle walls, with its steady, predictable rhythm, is the foundation of a squire's existence. But the world of medieval Europe is a world in motion, a world of travel, of trade, of pilgrimage, and of the grand and glorious spectacle of the tournament. And so, there are times when Thomas's world expands beyond the familiar stone walls of his home, when he must pack his bags, saddle his horse, and follow his knight on a journey into the wider world. One bright summer morning, a palpable sense of excitement ripples through the castle. Lord Ashworth has announced that he and his knights will be attending a great tournament in a neighbouring kingdom, a journey of several days' ride. For Thomas, this is a thrilling prospect. He has heard stories of the great tournaments, of the colour and pageantry, the feats of arms and the beautiful ladies who watch from the stands. But he has never seen one for himself. The days leading up to their departure are a whirlwind of activity. The entire castle seems to be mobilized for the journey. The blacksmith's forge rings with the sound of hammers on steel as armor is mended and horses are shoed. The ladies of the castle are busy sewing new banners and pennants, their needles flashing in the sunlight. The kitchens are a hive of activity as food is prepared and packed for the road. Thomas is busier than ever. He spends hours in the armory, ensuring that Sir William's tournament armor is in perfect condition. This armor is different from his regular battle armor. It is more ornate, more highly polished, and designed specifically for the joust. He also has to pack all of Sir William's equipment: his lances, his swords, his shields, and his finest clothes for the feasts and festivities that will accompany the tournament. He also has to prepare the horses for the long journey. He makes sure that their shoes are sound, that their saddles are in good repair, and that they have enough feed for the road. He packs his own small bag with a change of clothes, a few personal items, and a small, well-loved book of stories that Father Michael has given him. Finally, the day of departure arrives. The sun is just beginning to rise as the travelling party assembles in the castle courtyard. It is a grand and colourful sight. Lord Ashworth and his knights are mounted on their finest horses, their armour gleaming in the morning sun, their colourful banners fluttering in the gentle breeze. The ladies of the castle are there to see them off. Their bright dresses, a vibrant splash of colour against the grey stone of the castle walls. Thomas feels a thrill of pride as he stands by Sir William's side, holding the reins of his mighty warhorse. He is a part of this grand procession, a small but important cog in the great machine of medieval chivalry. The journey itself is a slow and leisurely affair. They travel on horseback, their long procession of knights, squires, servants and pack horses, winding its way through the green and pleasant countryside. They ride for several hours each day, stopping at midday to rest and eat, and making camp in the evening as the sun begins to set. For Thomas, the journey is a revelation. He sees a world that he has only ever heard about in stories. He sees bustling market towns, with their narrow, winding streets and their half-timbered houses. He sees great and ancient forests, their towering trees seeming to touch the sky. He sees wide, flowing rivers, their waters sparkling in the sun. He sees people from all walks of life, merchants with their carts laden with goods, pilgrims on their way to a holy shrine, farmers working in their fields, and children playing in the villages they pass through. It is a world of incredible diversity and vitality, a world that is both strange and wonderful to his young eyes. In the evenings, they make camp in a sheltered meadow or by the side of a river. The servants pitch the tents, and soon a small temporary village has sprung up in the wilderness. Fires are lit, and the air is filled with the delicious aroma of roasting meat. After the evening meal, the knights and squires gather around the fire. They tell stories, sing songs, and play games. It is a time of camaraderie and good fellowship, a chance to relax and enjoy the simple pleasures of life on the road. Thomas enjoys these evenings. He listens to the stories of the older knights, their tales of adventure and romance, filling his head with a sense of wonder and excitement. He learns new songs from the minstrels who travel with them. He even tries his hand at a game of dice, though he is not very good at it. As he lies in his tent at night, wrapped in his warm blanket, he can hear the sounds of the camp around him, the crackle of the fire, the murmur of quiet conversation, the gentle stamp of the horses in their temporary corral. He feels a sense of peace and contentment, a feeling of being a part of something larger than himself. After several days of travel, they finally arrive at their destination, a great and magnificent castle, even larger and more impressive than his own. The tournament is already underway, and the air is filled with a festive and celebratory atmosphere. The tournament grounds are a riot of color and sound. Pavilions of all shapes and sizes have been erected, each one decorated with the banners and heraldry of a different knight. The stands are packed with spectators, their bright clothes a vibrant tapestry of color. The air is filled with the sound of trumpets, the neighing of horses, and the roar of the crowd. Thomas is awestruck. He has never seen anything like it. He feels a sense of overwhelming excitement, a feeling that he is at the very center of the world. His duties as a squire are even more demanding during a tournament than they are at home. He has to help Sir William to don his heavy and elaborate tournament armor, a process that can take over an hour. He has to make sure that his lances are straight and true, and that his horse is calm and ready for the joust. He stands by the side of the tilt-yard, his heart pounding in his chest, as Sir William prepares for his first joust. He watches as his knight mounts his horse, his squire's shield held high, his lance at the ready. He feels a surge of pride and loyalty as he sees his knight ride out onto the field, a noble, an impressive figure in his gleaming armor. The joust itself is a breathtaking spectacle. The two knights, their lances aimed at each other's shields, charge at each other at a full gallop. The sound of their horses' hooves thundering on the ground is like the beat of a giant drum. There is a tremendous crash as the two knights meet, the sound of splintering wood and clanging metal echoing across the field. Thomas holds his breath, his eyes fixed on his knight. Years have passed since that first tournament. Years filled with the steady, rhythmic cycle of a squire's life. The seasons have turned, each one bringing its own set of chores and challenges. Thomas is no longer a boy of 14, but a young man of 20, his body hardened by years of training, his mind sharpened by countless lessons in the arts of war and peace. He has grown into his role as Sir William's squire, his movements sure and confident, his service a silent and intuitive dance. The bond between them has deepened, evolving from that of master and servant to one of mutual respect and quiet affection. Thomas has learned everything Sir William has to teach him, and he has learned it well. He is a master of the quintain, his lance striking the target with an unerring accuracy. He is a skilled swordsman, his movements fluid and precise. He is an accomplished horseman, able to handle a fiery war horse with a gentle but firm hand. He has also learned the lessons of the heart. He has learned about honor and loyalty, about courage and compassion. He has learned to be a man of his word, to be a protector of the weak, and to be a servant of his faith. The day that he has dreamed of for so long is now close at hand. Sir William has deemed him ready. Lord Ashworth has given his consent. In a few days' time, Thomas will be knighted. The news has filled him with a mixture of elation and trepidation. He is about to achieve his life's ambition, to take his place in the noble brotherhood of knights. But he is also keenly aware of the weight of the responsibility that he is about to assume. A knight's life is not just one of glory and adventure. It is also a life of duty and sacrifice, a life that may one day require him to make the ultimate sacrifice. The days leading up to his knighting ceremony are a time of quiet and solemn preparation. He spends long hours in the chapel, in prayer and contemplation. He reflects on his life, on the boy he once was, and on the man he is about to become. He asks for guidance and for strength, for the wisdom to be a just and honorable knight. The evening before his knighting, he undertakes the traditional vigil. He begins with a ritual bath, a symbolic cleansing of his past sins and a preparation for his new life. The water is warm and scented with herbs, and as he soaks in the tub, he feels a sense of peace and tranquility wash over him. He is then dressed in a simple white tunic, a symbol of his purity of heart. Over this, he wears a red robe, a symbol of the blood he is willing to shed in the service of his Lord and his faith. He is led to the chapel, where he will spend the night in prayer. The chapel is dark and silent, the only light coming from a single candle that burns on the altar. His new armor, a magnificent suit of gleaming steel, is laid out before the altar, a silent and powerful symbol of his future. He kneels before the altar, his head bowed, his hands clasped in prayer. The silence of the chapel is profound and absolute, a silence that seems to be filled with the weight of centuries of faith and tradition. He is alone, but he does not feel lonely. He feels a sense of connection to all the squires who have knelt in this very chapel before him, all the young men who have spent a long and lonely night in vigil, dreaming of the day when they would become knights. As the hours pass, his mind begins to drift. He thinks of his family, of the pride they will feel when they hear that he has been knighted. He thinks of Sir William, of the debt of gratitude he owes him for his years of guidance and mentorship. He thinks of the future, of the adventures that await him, the battles he may fight, the deeds he may perform. He prays for the courage to face whatever challenges may come his way. He prays for the wisdom to make the right choices. He prays for the compassion to be a true and gentle knight, a protector of the innocent and a champion of the just. The night is long and still, and a deep and profound peace settles over him. The world outside the chapel walls seems to fade away, leaving only the quiet of his own heart and the solemnity of his purpose. As the first faint light of dawn begins to filter through the stained glass windows, he feels a sense of renewal, a sense of being reborn. The long night of his squirehood is over. The dawn of his new life as a knight is about to begin. Later that morning, in the great hall of the castle, surrounded by his fellow knights and the entire household, Thomas will kneel before Lord Ashworth. The Lord will take his own sword, the sword of a great and noble leader, and he will gently touch Thomas on each shoulder, a symbolic blow known as the accolade. He will speak the ancient and sacred words, "I dub thee knight," and in that moment, the boy will be gone, and the man will be born. The squire will be no more, and the knight will rise to take his place in the world. But for now, in the quiet of the pre-dawn chapel, he is simply Thomas, a young man on the cusp of his destiny. He is filled with a sense of peace, of purpose, and of a deep and abiding gratitude for the life he has been given. And as you, weary traveller, lie in your own bed, on the cusp of your own peaceful slumber, let the story of Thomas, the squire, be a gentle and soothing balm to your soul. Let the rhythm of his life, the quiet dedication of his service, and the steadfastness of his dreams lull you into a state of deep and profound rest. There are no more tasks to be done, no more challenges to be met. There is only the quiet of this moment, the comfort of your bed, and the promise of a peaceful and restorative sleep. The story is over. The journey is complete. Rest now, sleep now, and may your dreams be as sweet and as peaceful as the quiet and gentle world of the Squire.